I thank you guys both for doing this, and we are live. Hello, 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 everyone. This is William Rochelle, but you can call me Bill. I am here with Martha Lobos and Gabby, both of which have saved my life today. Talk about miracles. They both came through, they showed up, and I am sure they will show out in this episode of UBU Live. Martha is an enhanced care advocate, single mom, and tireless community builder working with unhoused and low-income individuals through her work and volunteer efforts with Connect Impact Hub. She's on the ground daily helping people rebuild their lives in Texas, New York, California, and beyond. Martha brings a deeply human perspective on how compassion, communication, and collaboration can drive real change. Gabby is an ecosystem explorer, which she's going to tell us what that means. I'm not that smart. Don't use big words around me. She considers herself a human API connecting people, ideas, systems across industries. She brings clarity to complexity, creating structure where others see chaos. And if you've ever felt stuck between silos or lost in a system, yes, Gabby's approach helps you find your rhythm and move forward with intention. And intention is my favorite word of the day. It's always about intention. Um, Before we get started, this episode is brought to us by the Honeypot Lounge. The Honeypot Lounge is owned and operated salon founded by my twins, Brooke and Amanda. Woo, go women. They believe every person, no matter shape, shade, age, or background, should feel comfortable and beautiful before and after receiving a beauty service. They understand that self-care and self-love are the foundation of a happy and healthy lifestyle, and they strive to be contributing factors in that mission. The Honeypot Lounge began as a personal desire to create an inclusive space for women. They wanted to design an environment where you could be totally yourself and be completely comfortable indulging in a little bit or a lot of self-care. The Honeypot Lounge is located at 4927 West Adams Boulevard in Los Angeles, California. Go support LA. Woohoo! That's my plug of the moment. So, a couple of things. Both Martha and Gabby, I intentionally do not meet my guests before they come on because I really like authentic, real life, unfiltered conversations. And I like to see what direction it takes us in. So, Martha, you are our premiere. So we're going to start with you. And I kind of gave a little bit of a background. It wasn't really a full-throated background. It was a short synopsis, but kind of tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bill. And I also want to thank Gregory for connecting us all here today. And it's nice. I love the organic feeling of going with the flow of things. That's how I flow too. So thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. So a little bit about me. I was born in Los Angeles in the 80s, early 80s. And we ended up
What
leaving
part?
South Central. We stayed in
Okay.
Inglewood for a little bit during the riots. And then during that time, we actually ended up leaving. It was like 89, 90. We left to Monterey, California,
Okay.
to get away from all the chaos that was happening during that period in that part of LA. So we ended up in Monterey. We came here as a family, and there was a separation between my parents. My father left, we stayed here, and the family just maintained here in the county. We grew up on, low income household. And so I got to grow up pretty fast, being
Yeah.
my mom's go-to person. And so not only that, but I also got to help other people along the way as well that needed help with translation, with reading letters, and letting them know what it meant. So I started pretty young, becoming an advocate, even though I didn't have the verbiage, I didn't understand. I was just following directions. Well, that period then, hello, friends. That period then took me to, I went through the healthcare field. I got to learn a lot. I was in that field for a little over 20 years, working in different parts of healthcare, more on the administration side. And then also, one day I just decided that I needed to make a change in my life. I quit my corporate job in healthcare and packed my things, and I moved to Houston, Texas. This was during COVID season. And I told my boss at the time that I was going on a self-discovery journey.
Okay. In the middle of COVID.
In the middle of COVID.
Okay.
And I had a place to go. I didn't have a job lined up. And I went on my self-discovery journey with my son. And that was the beginning of being away from family, having to figure out, make new friends, learn about just being by myself with no support. And I tell you, I got to learn a lot about myself during that time. But also I got to connect with new friends here on LinkedIn. I picked up some volunteer work in Houston, specifically working with single moms, homeless single moms. And then I picked up a contract in New York with working with seniors and low-income seniors, homeless and low-income seniors. And so I just started, I tell you, the universe just somehow started lining things up. LinkedIn community, then my work on the ground. I started sharing what I was doing. And then all that just created Connect Impact Hub. It's a nonprofit. Yeah, it's a nonprofit based out of Houston. That's our main starting point. And now we're in California, just getting everything legal wise here secured so we can operate in the state of in the state of California. But we're not just doing that. We're not just helping in these states, but we're also providing more of a broad assistance virtually, whether it's on the phone or in person. We do have volunteers that are helping on the go as we get these calls or these referrals, because I'm getting a lot of word of mouth that they're hearing about us and they're coming over and asking for our assistance. So it's quite a journey. I'll tell you, this is our first year. We were approved last year in 2024, and it was not easy. It was definitely.
You were approved last year, 2024, for California or for Texas?
No, for Texas to become a nonprofit. So we're now first year, and nothing is easy. It's been a journey, but it's been a journey, and maybe I'll jump into that as we continue to speak about our lives.
Your journey, yeah.
Because
absolutely.
I have a life outside of LinkedIn, and it's not just the business. There is a person, and there's real struggles that happen as well behind the scenes. But sometimes we don't want to share while we're going through it because we're ashamed. It's not a good feeling.
That's interesting. I started a spinoff of this called Cousin Talk, and me and my cousin did the first show yesterday. And one of the things that we talked about was pride. And I think a big misconception is that our lives are perfect because we've overcome so much. But last week, I literally was crying to him. I was like, this needs to change. Something in my life needs to change because it's not perfect right now. And he kind of said, it's a moment. But when you're in that moment, that shit hurts. It does not feel good. And you have faith and you keep the positive attitude and you keep going. But sometimes you have to say things just aren't okay. And be real about it. Just to get it out. And I would love to hear more about your personal as well as your business. Um, I'm so are you living in Houston or Texas right now? I mean,
Uh,
Houston or California?
yeah, I'm in California now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're going to keep a nonprofit in Houston and you're
Yes.
going to have it in Texas? I mean,
Yes.
and oh my God, I have to get
Yeah, I know.
my state straight.
Yeah.
And you're going to have it in California. Are you in Los Angeles?
I'm not near Los Angeles, but the
Okay.
goal is to go there because we have a very high number of homelessness in the LA area. Yes.
Yeah, I know a couple of people that work in the homeless industry in LA um, that I might see if they're willing to talk to you.
Oh,
Um,
great.
they're high school friends, so we keep in touch through Facebook. So we're not like besties, but let's see.
Mhm.
Gabby, I'd love to know about that human API and
Sure,
what that means.
sure. Do you know what an API is? Does anyone know?
Of course, I know what an API is.
Okay,
I'm
well then I
I'm
think.
brilliant.
I mean, I figured, but I
I don't know how to set one up myself, but I know what it is. I know what it does. But go ahead.
Okay, cool, awesome. What about you, Martha? Do you know what an API is?
I think I heard it when I was in college, but I don't remember. So
Okay,
no, please refresh my brain.
fair. So pretty much an API is a connector of interfaces. It helps one software communicate to another. And so I call myself a little bit of the human API because I really want to do that within our innovation and grander ecosystem of just really, just innovation and engineering specifically. So I like to focus on tech networking and a little bit of cybersecurity, um, and then film and production because to me I see it as one greater ecosystem. So pretty much everything goes together. So most media outlets, most sports things require tech right now, and so it's all a part of a greater ecosystem. And so I want to help bridge some of those communication gaps and shatter some of those silos.
Right on. So I actually thought when you said human API that you were connecting people.
Yes, I mean people, but I mean in a mass sense. So I think where
Okay.
people really gather and are able to fellowship is important. And so I typically find
Absolutely.
the events and then of course find the people there. So like even here, I'd consider this an event and there are people in it. And so of course, and so I just think it's scale. And so that's why I go with that.
Okay. How did you get into it?
Um, Honestly, it just became something I enjoyed doing as an event planner myself. I just can appreciate what comes of it and how much project management and agility it requires to really put on a good event. I mean, heck, Bill, even this, you said you needed some last minute step ins
I
and
did.
we came here to help. And so, and all of that is just a part of project management and a part of being agile. And so I really just appreciate those who go out of their way to host these events and to provide these platforms for people.
I need everyone to understand this. It's 4 o'clock in Florida. I contacted Gabby probably at 3 o'clock and said, "Would you step in?" And the show would have gone on, but I prefer like a 3-person, 4-person type of panel. so it's more of a discussion, and we get different perspectives. So it makes it easier for me to have the communication of all of us versus just everything being on me, because I'm still scared doing this, guys. So Martha, you were saying that you have struggles in, outside of the work part. Which do you want to talk about now? Is it more about the homeless community, or is it more about your personal?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch really quickly on what Gabby just shared regarding API. So I worked in healthcare, and I was actually part of the information exchange system, where we were getting data from 3 hospitals and over 21 practices in the area, because there was no communication as far as data. So I was making sure that the data came in through. So as Gabby was talking, I was just literally sizzling some information in my brain. I'm like, that's really what I'm doing with Connect Impact Hub, is we're bringing resources to one location so that we're able to help the members, so they're not going from place to place to place just to be denied. I tell you, that's probably one of the most frustrating things to do, is to be told to call 211 or 311, depending on where you're at, East Coast, West Coast. And then you call and they'll give you a list, and then just to be told, oh, we can't help you. It's just so frustrating. So having that connection, not only in the digital world, but also in what we're doing here, the importance of that. Because now you have a connection, and you can actually pick up the phone and say, hey, I have a member that needs support. Can I refer them over to you? The importance of that.
How often are you denied when you call and ask, can you refer someone over?
Yeah, so I'll speak on my personal experience that I had last year. When I moved, I didn't have a plan. I knew that I was going to be coming here, but I didn't have a plan. I didn't prepare myself, to be honest with you. And I ended up couch surfing, and that didn't work out. So I actually ended up spending a lot of time in my car, and then I ended up staying in a Motel 6 to be specific. And I ended up asking for help. And I'll tell you firsthand, the experience was not positive. Starting from the resources from the school system down to housing. The support level was long hold periods, call these numbers. I mean, it went as far as, let me give you a list of where you can park for the night if you don't have anywhere to stay. And, being a woman with a child, it was just not ideal. And
of course.
So you have to think fast, but while you're trying to think fast, you have all these other mental health difficulties that you're going through internally, depression,
Absolutely.
Anxiety, and it's like, oh my gosh, and then you feel so embarrassed, because here I am running a nonprofit, and here I am in a situation where I don't want to, be in. So it was very frustrating to be knocking on doors and to be declined help. So eventually I started getting the help that I needed, and it was more on the government side. And I, as embarrassing as this sounds, yes, I got on general assistance, and I got on food assistance. But I got to learn also, the verbiage, what to say when you're in a position of crisis, what's going to work and what's not going to work. And also the legal aspects that come with the verbiage that you're using. So my very short experience, now I get to use that with each of the members that I connect with. And I'll tell you right now, it has been very successful, because I went through my personal experience, and I got to see firsthand what works and what doesn't. And now I get to share that with the members. So it was very shameful, but I had some really good support system, which was here on LinkedIn, the community that I met that kept checking up on me, making sure I was okay. The support, I couldn't get it from my own family because they were going through their own adversities, and it was difficult to be there in a mental health state that was healthy for all of us. So I'm like, there's no way, I have to figure this out. And I
Right.
figured it out. I figured it out. It took me a very short period, while others, it's taking them years to get off the streets. And there's reasons for that, which I can definitely go into more into that.
I'd love to, but I want to kind of chime in real quick. You should never be ashamed of your journey. Your journey is uniquely yours, and it puts you in a place today to help other people. So
Yeah.
without that journey, you may not have been as passionate as you are today about being a spokesperson for other people. So for that, you should be proud. The second thing I want to say is, this is gonna make everybody mad. Elon Musk gets $8 million a day from the government. $8 million a day. Billions in corporate welfare. Why should an individual be ashamed to ask for government assistance? Walmart, the largest company in America, gets government assistance and then pays their employees less than minimum wage. Most of their employees need to go on food assistance because they're not making enough at Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
Our country needs to refocus what is okay and what is not. It is not okay to have millions of homeless people while we give billions to people that don't need it.
Yeah.
That man paid $256 million to purchase an election through Donald Trump. But you're embarrassed that you have to get on government assistance or food. And I'm not saying that right now, but I'm saying, never be ashamed, because they're not. And then they're going to put us down because we need it.
Right.
So,
but Bill, I thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that information either. But when you're standing in line, right, you are judged.
yeah.
You are judged, and you are labeled, and it's not a good feeling. It's not. I'll tell you I had such a joy when I got to call and said, please turn off these resources because I no longer need them. I think that was probably one of the best feelings in the world. Because I'm like, I don't need them now, but I'm so grateful that I had them when I had them for that short period of time. But we have folks that don't have families, that are getting denied services, and they're living in their cars, or they're living outside. And and it's extremely disappointing that we're told there's all this help, and then when there is criterias that either have to be met, or if you've already been in the program, you're not going to be able to rejoin the program. So there's a lot of disappointment out there, and already we're dealing with folks that have mental health issues, and sometimes they don't understand, or sometimes they have disabilities where they don't understand and they don't know who to go for support, on what verbiage to use, and they themselves will say the wrong things, and the help won't come. And so I tell you, there's a lot of members that are living in motels as we speak because they're not getting the support that they need. And yeah, it's every day that I speak to someone every day. There's one person, there's not one day that goes by that I don't speak to a member. And every day there's something that comes up.
Okay. I understand the feeling of being labeled. I don't understand everything that you went through. And and I also hate when people say, "Oh, me too." I don't understand it because it was your experience, and I'm not living it through your lens, and I'm not, and I didn't go through it as harshly, but I've I've applied for food stamps and I've applied for unemployment. You know, it's happened, um, and it is demoralizing. It does make you feel less than. Um, and I also don't think that we speak enough about the mental health issues that aren't as apparent. So you can see someone that has mental health issues because of the way they're acting, right? But I suffer from anxiety and depression, right? So you can't see that. When I'm walking down the street, I seem extremely confident, and I am. I am. I know what my triggers are. My triggers are this moment where I'm unemployed, right? Um, it gives you a sense of instability, and so that's my kind of trigger. As long as everything is, you know, there's something coming into the bank, I'm good. But when things are going out and nothing's coming in, um, my tensions just they soar, and um, that part I do understand. Um,
Mhm. Yeah.
I I just can't get, and I'll say it again, how we can be such a wealthy country and have a homeless community.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
it really saddens me, and some people. I know one person that actually made it a choice, and they had mental health issues. They were just like, I don't want the commitment. I don't want any help. I just want to live in Tent City in Los Angeles. And his brother was actually a football player and got him an apartment and did all the stuff for him. He didn't want it. He let it go because he didn't want to be attached to anything. But then there's the other ones like you, like me, that hit bumpy roads, and then we go and we search, and they say, and I don't know if you realize this, but they say you're a single man, so you don't qualify because we only have $400, and we're going to give it to a family of four than a single man. So you also have that issue, which proves that I've been there before. Um, it's not a good feeling. It's not. Um, Gabby, you're quiet.
Um, yes. So I think both of you shared amazing things, and I have a lot to say about both in a way. So first off, Martha kind of touched on how frustrating it can be to need help and to be barely even in a space to get that help. And it's already taking energy and effort to reach out for help, but then to do the reaching and to hit these processes and these systems that make it almost impossible to actually get the help you need is exactly why I say the API thing, because I think translating our digital life and our physical life is necessary now. Like, a lot of what we do is digital, and not everyone is as adept or equipped to deal with some of the technical advances, especially so quickly. And then it also gets into the verbiage thing that Martha also mentioned, where we can kind of get so stuck in industry jargon sometimes that we make it hard to translate to other people, or to those that are in need, or our actual users, our actual clients and things of that nature. And so I think all of that is extremely important, and kind of why I really feel like tech can help us in some ways, because it can be a translator. And so if we put it in the right hands and show how we can translate between each other's backgrounds and even personalize some education and some predictive material to people's tailored learning styles. I think that can be amazing to reduce some of that friction and frustration.
Yeah. As you talk about education, that's everything that we're talking about today, to me, goes back to America's priorities. And we're not educating our children the way that we should. We're not giving, we're telling women, and these are your choices. I'm a guy. It's not my business. But we're telling women they have to have the kids, but we're not going to give them the support that they need once the child is born. I just think that we're failing as a community, and that's another thing that's disappointing. I mean, how do you support gun rights and then say every life matters? So it's okay for me to shoot you, but it's not okay for you to say I'm 12 years old. I was raped by my grandfather, and now I'm pregnant, and I don't want to do this. I want to stop here for just a second, you guys, because Anish has a very interesting comment, and I kind of want to touch on it, and then I want to see what everyone else thinks. Anish, I agree with you that spirituality does help. I am completely spiritual, and I go to bed every night with a YouTube video of I am affirmations and how to, receive greatness. And I listen to The Secret at night. Anything that can subliminally talk to my spirit while I'm dozing off. I believe those things that you attract are monumental. I also think that when I'm in the middle of a panic attack, it's hard to grab on to that spirituality because your mind has been triggered, and the attack. I don't know how it works for Martha, but mine is like I'm having like I'm having a heart attack or something. I'll start sweating and so. I agree, Anish, but I also think that sometimes when you're deep in it, it's harder to find. Go ahead, Gabby. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
Oh no, you're good. I couldn't tell between the pauses and stuff, so it's all good. But I wanted to say I love that, and it's funny that you bring this up because actually last night I did an experiment where instead of doing my usual I am affirmations, I actually found some on YouTube that were you are affirmations. And I thought it was interesting to feel the difference because it's almost like hearing it from someone else. And so I thought that was kind of just fascinating. So I don't know, just kind of thought the coincidence was like, wow.
And it's about intentionality, because I found that at one point I was falling asleep with the freaking news on. Like, why would I do that? Like on like CNN or MSNBC. So you're hearing all this stuff that's just totally negative while you're sleeping. And I would wake up and be like, why am I in such a bad mood? And so intentionally, every night I have chosen a selection. Like right now, I'm on the third eye awakening frequencies. So, I'm choosing affirmations, spirituality, healing frequencies. I'm just doing everything that I can to reset my mind, and everything that I can to discuss all the positive things that are going on in my life. And when you recognize that, you realize there's actually more good than bad. And like my cousin told me yesterday, my life right now is in this moment that's this big in the full throatedness of my life. Go ahead, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just listening to you, Bill and Gabby. Thank you for sharing. Everyone's going to find their own way of coping mechanism. Last Thursday, I met with a member who's been living in her car now for 8 years and has,
Wow.
and has a medical condition that really requires attention, and she should not be living in her car. And when we meet, all she wants is just to be heard. While I want to set goals, to meet things and get things going, all she wants is just be heard. And she said last week, she said she likes to write. And that day she said she had read about butterflies. And I just was, emphasizing that she is the butterfly. She was talking about, some things that looking at other people's lives, right? Not comparing, but how her life could have been. But I said, focus on how your life is now, like right now, focus on what you're seeing when you're in the car outside. And then it just changed. It went from crying and being angry and emotional to like, we ended a call and like with lots of love, and we focused on the butterflies because she is really the butterfly. And this butterfly that just came out of nowhere was a white butterfly, the purity of the butterfly. And it was like, whoa, like I got chills because it was like, she was just talking about what she wrote about her butterflies. And I'm like, well, you are the butterfly. So the importance of us and who we surround ourselves with too, for our own peace of mind is so important. Because you don't want to surround yourself with a lot of negativity and want to provide good to the world.
Right. Your circle is important. Your circle is important. But how does someone, what you're doing is remarkable. I don't know if I could do it because I think that I would take on the emotions of everyone I met. How does someone live in their car for 8 years with no, like, what did she eventually give up because she kept hitting walls? Well,
yeah.
How does that happen in the United States?
Well, I can tell you she hasn't given up. And she hasn't given up because of her faith. Her faith is what's maintaining her strength. Yeah. So she's literally at her limit as we speak, and she's ready for housing. But the problem with that is the number one issue here in this country is the limited housing that is available for our unhoused and our low-income families. As soon as they become available, they're immediately like, it's already gone. There's not even a chance that they get at getting housed. That's a problem.
Is she on a list right now? And how long has she been on that list?
No, she's not on a list. She was on a list, and she was in a shelter, and that's how she got on a list. However, when she thought she had gotten a voucher, which is a Section 8, we call it, through the Housing Authority here in the States. It turned out she wasn't one of the recipients receiving a voucher, but out of the 10 people, 3 of them got vouchers, and she wasn't one of those 3, even though she had a medical condition. Yeah. And so her frustration during that conversation was like, I'm not in a good place. I have ongoing health conditions, but yet a healthy person is getting housed before I am. And so I understood clearly the frustration with that. I don't understand why she wasn't picked, even though she had a health condition, as being one of the recipients receiving a voucher. I don't understand what the background was with that. And so, yeah, but it's something that happens, unfortunately. That does happen, and there's people that don't want to be outside, that they're out there because they cannot afford the rent.
Okay. I'm actually texting one of my high school friends that works in the homeless community in Los Angeles to see if he'll jump on as well.
Oh, good.
Because
Okay.
he actually goes out and tries to help people and grab them off the street. So I would love to get his perspective on it, because he's always posting it on Instagram as he's finding people in downtown Los Angeles or in Santa Monica. He may not get the message in time, but it's one of the people that I thought I would connect you with anyway.
Definitely.
So let's see how that goes.
Okay.
So I was not ignoring you. I was actually trying to facilitate a human API connection. How's that, Gabby?
I like it. I like it a lot.
So, Gabby, let's talk about you for a second. Tell us everything we want to know. Tell us everything that you don't want to share.
Where are you from, Gabby? Let's start with that. Where are you from?
Oh, I meant to mention that, actually. So I'm from Houston. And so, yeah, your story of self-discovery in Houston resonated a lot, actually, because I went back after college and definitely had a moment, or at least a little mini journey of self-discovery myself. So, yeah.
So you're from Houston, and where are you now?
I'm currently in Virginia, in the DMV area.
Okay. You know what? I don't know why, and I don't know what this means, but you sound like someone from the DMV area. Your tone. You don't sound like someone from Houston. You don't sound like Beyonce and Kelly Rowland.
I will say people typically can't tell where I'm from. Actually, some people think I'm either from California or from the East. It's interesting to me how very different it is.
I didn't spend a lot of time in Virginia, but DC, my cousin lives there, near the Navy Yard. And I just think it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and one of the most interesting cities, talking about the homeless. I don't know how it is today. I think it's much better today. But I was a child in the early 2000s. I wasn't a child. I was an adult in the early 2000s. But traveling there between the 90s and the 2000s, you would have the White House, you'd have a mansion, and then you'd have like a shoot 'em up, kill 'em neighborhood, and then you go back to a mansion. It was a very eclectic type of city. But as far as the culture, it's what I found, one of the most educated cities in America. It seems like whenever you go to a bar or a meet and greet, the people out there have just a ton to talk about, and they have real opinions, and the conversations are not what I would have in other cities where they're like basic. It was meaty. So cool. How long have you been in Virginia?
I've been here for a few months now, and so still don't know too much about it, honestly, but I really can appreciate the history of the place. And of course, seeing the all the monuments and buildings outside of my car window is always like, oh, wow, I've only seen this in movies. Now it's up close.
DC is one of the worst cities I've ever driven in. I could not figure out all the roundabouts, and then you can't turn. Have you ever been to Martha? Have you ever been to DC?
I have been there.
So you can't do like a 4-corner turnaround
Mhm.
because you make a right, you make a right, you make a right, and you never get back to where the place you began. It's all this. I don't know how it was designed, but I get confused and lost every time I'm there. So I have to Uber. So what made you go to Virginia?
Well, I figured it'd be a great place to do some exploring and further see how the ecosystem is here. So pretty much a lot of this started actually back in Pittsburgh, which is where I graduated and went to school. And so I started there, met some people that there, and then moved back to Houston and started exploring their ecosystem. And so now I'm kind of just on a mini tour, I guess, of some of the cities I can find that have a great tech or incubator ecosystem.
Okay. And Silicon Valley wasn't on your list, or Austin?
I think I'll get there eventually. I kind of want to go on the outskirts and kind of go where, frankly, my own network. I'm just going on the path of least resistance right now. I think I could definitely end up in Silicon Valley eventually, but I think it also would be a cool place to build up to.
Nice, nice. So what's interesting is both you and Martha have gone on self-discovery tours, it sounds like.
Yeah, I
And
was just going to
that's
say that.
brave.
Mm-hmm. It really is. Gabby, I'm in Monterey Bay, which is not far from the Bay Area. So if you want to visit, let me know.
Good to know. It's on my list eventually, but yeah, right now I think I'm trying to build up to it and learn
Got it.
from these other cities too.
Got it. What's the temperature out there in Virginia? When I mean temperature, I mean mindset. Uh, there's so much going on every day from a political standpoint. What are you observing?
So that's actually a very great question. Here, obviously, the people are a lot closer to the government, and a lot are frankly some form of government contractors, and so a lot of the recent layoffs have been really pivotal and obviously have like a huge impact on people's mindset and the overall temperature. But it does mean a lot of great talent is available right now and out at these networking events and able to speak with them. Like I recently went to a prompt engineering workshop hosted by this one company, and they're kind of like a partner with Microsoft. And so they really broke down the prompt engineering for Azure and all of that good stuff. And it was a really awesome workshop and very full and midday. And so I figured that was a, a lot to say about DC there. Other than that, I went to an event out here that was about healthcare and tech. And so that one was really
Okay.
cool too, because I met the event organizer and he was like, I made this space because I saw a problem and so I wanted to solve it. And I want to make sure that we could have those pivotal conversations between healthcare and tech. And so, yeah, that was really cool too. And I think it also has to do with some of the policy mindset up here. Like here is different than Houston because Houston's huge on energy and oil and gas. Whereas here, there's a little bit more policy and things of that nature.
Got it. Do you consider yourself more of an entrepreneur, or what are you looking to do permanently, or are you still figuring that out?
Permanently, entrepreneurship. However, I would love to learn more about systems from the inside. So I am looking more for a corporate gig for right now, but I just genuinely enjoy organizational structuring and seeing
So
how
you're
different
looking.
teams run at scale. Yes.
So you are looking for something.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. Good to know. Like I said, my cousin lives in DC, so it's all about not what you know, but who you know sometimes, and being that human API connector. I'm going to use that for the rest of my life. because it's great. Martha?
Yeah, so I'm actually an advocate here. I work for a nonprofit, and then I volunteer with Connect Impact Hub when I'm away from my daily work. So when I moved back here, I needed income. So I applied for an organization that met what I'm doing. Like we had a lot of alignment. And yeah, I get to do every day what I love to do. I wake up, I go to sleep. I'm literally breathing and smelling everything in between. And yeah, I found my passion because of my self-discovery journey. So I am just so grateful for all of the grays that I went through. It was all worth it. Maybe one day I'll write a book. But
I'm sure you have one in you.
Yeah, I think we all do. We're all going through our own things,
Yeah.
and it's nice to be able to share the real life, because it's not roses and the breeze. We all do go through our own difficulties, and there is beauty about that, even though we don't feel it as we're going through it. We were like so down on ourselves as we're going through the process, but there's a reason for everything, and it does feel good to say that I'm on the other side now, and to be able to actually extend my hand out and now know where I need to go to help other people. It feels really good. But
That's beautiful.
But also, Bill and Gabby, even though it feels good to do that, we also have the gray areas that sometimes we can't provide, such as housing, motel vouchers. When that becomes available, how fast they go out, the shelters not having room availability for our members. And that part, to me, it is not a positive, because sometimes I get crisis calls and I don't have a key to open the door. And that is extremely tough to come across when you don't have that key to open the door.
That's, earlier I said I appreciate what you're doing, but personally I don't think I could do it, because I would be taking that home every day.
Yeah.
Emotionally, it would weigh me down. I don't, there's certain, we all know what we can handle, and
Mhm.
I would probably have like 30 people living in my house just because I would just feel so bad.
Yeah. And it's
Again, I
normal.
think that our
Yeah.
country is focused on the wrong things.
Right. I
I
agree
would
with you.
love for both. I would love for both Martha and Gabby to give their response to Ashif, because I think that's a great question or comment.
Wow, what a great question, Ashif. Does the purpose find us, or do we find our purpose? I have to say, I did a lot of prayer for many years. I did the education, I got a bachelor's, I got a master's, and I still couldn't figure out my purpose. I had to leave my comfort to find my purpose. And even when I found my purpose, I still was praying, because I'm like, is this really what you want me to do? And for me, I'm Christian, so God, I'm like, this is really what you want me to do? And I started getting downloads, and I just started taking notes. And so then, while I had found my purpose, I still was questioning it, because I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm mentally, physically, or financially prepared for this purpose. And I wasn't. I was not prepared. But the more I push forward, the more I'm like so in love with it. So to answer your
Good.
question, Chief, the purpose really it finds you at the end of the day. That's how I feel about it. At least that's how I took it for myself.
Gabby?
I think it's a little bit of both, right? Because our purpose can find us before we have the words for it. So we have to eventually be able to articulate it. And so I think there's a little bit of both there.
Okay. All right.
Wait, before you go, what about you, Bill?
That's a great question. I think I know my purpose. I understand it. Situations like I'm in at this moment make it difficult for me to go after it. So I enjoy uplifting other people. I enjoy building startups and then creating tomorrow's leaders. That's where I get most of my joy. I've actually quit jobs because I built my team up so well that the company could thrive without me. That's what you're supposed to do. And then my corner office was the next place for Gerardo to go, but I was sitting in it. And at that point, I was just signing checks or signing contracts. And that's not what I want to do. I want to build, and I want to say, I did that. And I want to look at someone and say, oh, that guy on television, I hired him. And he's a dating coach now, but he was my customer service rep for a dating site that I had. And everything that we taught him, he's now applying on all these talk shows and everything else. So I enjoy seeing other people grow. I don't enjoy being I don't enjoy blocking other people's blessings. I don't enjoy working for money. I do want the money, but that's not my purpose. My purpose is to help the business get to another level and everyone around me to benefit from it. So I think that's my purpose. And since I've been unemployed, which has been a little bit over a year, I've started my own newsletter, and then now I'm starting my podcast. And it's really about being authentic and giving of myself, a portion of me. Right now I'm giving it to you, and giving you a platform. So that's it, it's all aligned, if you really think about it, for the same purpose.
That's beautiful, Bill. I really love your share, and Gabby's as well. As you were sharing, I was just thinking about the members that I speak to daily, and the importance of having these conversations that we're having right here, and then listening to these conversations, because it's empowering to them to know, it's okay if we don't have all the answers. It's okay. We will figure them out as life goes on.
I go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no. Go ahead, Bill.
I shared something a couple of episodes ago, and Kenneth only took away the fact that I had a BMW. But I was in Dallas, and
I read the last comment he just wrote.
he, when I was a young lady, okay, he's funny, but he totally missed the point. And this also goes back to something you said. So I've had major highs and major lows. Oh, how cute! And there was one day where I was sitting in a parking lot in my convertible BMW, and the top was down. And the top was down because I couldn't afford to get it fixed, and it wouldn't go back up. And I was sitting outside. I was sitting in a parking lot because my lights had gotten turned off in Dallas, and it was in the middle of summer. So my apartment was turning into an oven. And I was on my cell phone trying to call someone to see if I can get food resources, which is why I knew about the thing that you said about why I said they wouldn't give it to me because I was a single man versus a family. And this girl came up to me and she said, "Excuse me, sir, can you spare some change so I can get some food?" And I told her, "You and I are in the exact same place." I looked at it, and it goes back to how we look, right? Anxiety, depression, it doesn't really show itself, right? So I might have looked like I had something, but I was on the phone trying to get food assistance myself. I was in the parking lot because my lights had gotten turned off, and I would have my top down because it wouldn't go back up. And if you own one of those cars, and at that point it was paid off. Once that warranty ends, you can't afford any of the maintenance if you don't have a job. And so I can really understand. And because I've been feast and famine, I understand both sides, but from a different perspective. I lived in my car when I was a teenager because I was a 16-year-old runaway. My grandfather brought me a car. My mom told me to get out and she was going to take my car. And I said, "I'm not going to be homeless and carless." So I jumped in my car and drove off, and never went back. So, I've been in that situation where, I lived in my car. I was sleeping in it and the windows were fogged up and someone broke into my trunk, and I jumped up and screamed and he jumped up and screamed and ran off, thank God. But everyone's life is not as perfect as it seems. And I believe that sharing our stories and telling everyone where we're at today versus where we were yesterday is extremely, extremely powerful. And as I talk about it, it just reminds me of everything that I've overcome. And we have to get reminded of it because sometimes we're like, "This shit again?" It's like, because it's been a roller coaster. COVID tanked my business, and then 2008 through 2010 tanked my investments. So I've started over twice, and built up something really nice to be proud of, and then just bam. And there's no way to forecast for that. So we can't judge anyone because we never know where we're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
We can't be so proud or so naive to think that it's not my problem because my shit's good. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And again, I'm going to go back to America. That's one of the problems I'm having right now.
Mm-hmm.
People are screaming and they're hollering because farmers didn't expect to lose their land. The federal government didn't expect to lose their jobs. But who did you think he was going to hurt? When he started talking about DEI,
Mm-hmm.
you thought it was going to be somebody else. It's impacted everyone, and people did not get into an uproar until it got too close to home.
Right.
So it's my belief that we stand up for everybody. And if we don't stand, then when we need something, who's going to stand by you?
Right.
Sorry for that rant.
No, that was beautifully said, Bill. when I was at the motel, someone said to me, my lowest point, they said, you know, you're out here serving the homeless population and now you're in this position. It was an insult. But you know what? As bad as it hurted while I was there, I said, you know what? I'm actually a lot better off than a lot of the members. I have a roof over my head. I get to take a shower every day, and I have a bed to sleep, and I have a little place to make my coffee every day. I'm already rich.
Yeah.
Just I appreciate so much more just the basic necessities and the importance of having real friends. Like, I know the meaning of real relationships, people that genuinely love you for you and nothing more, and they don't expect anything in return. They're there because they really care, and that is what we all need, all of us. Even
Yeah.
the members that are outside that say they don't want support, they want support. They just don't know how to go about it. Some of them just close out because they've extended their hands out to ask for help just to be turned away, that they've become this real solid, closed off human now.
Right. Right. So how did you get into the motel so quickly? And I'm going to go back. I'm not judging. I just don't understand.
Yeah.
But the lady that
Well,
lived in her car for 8 years, like
yeah.
what's the difference between the two?
Yeah. So the difference is, well, I had a job, a contract job. So I was able to pay for my motel. But
Okay.
yeah. So, but I also did get 15 days through the county where they actually paid for my motel. They paid $87 per night because I have a child. So they covered 15 days. And then the rest I obviously covered. Yeah. So
Okay.
that was the
Got it.
difference.
Okay.
With my member, they don't get, unfortunately, for single people, they don't provide motel vouchers unless it's inclement weather. And that's decided by either whatever organization is passing them out or the sheriff's department. The problem with that is they have to contact their local shelter to inquire of that program. But it's not always available. I mean, it's only if it's really severely bad weather. And unfortunately, sometimes we have days that it's raining or days that it's hot. For example, in Houston, those real intense heat waves.
I couldn't do it.
It's a lot. And you see a lot of the members in downtown Houston surrounding, there's a day center where they all hang out by to cool off outside because there's nowhere else to go. So yeah, I'll tell you something that I have learned through this whole process is homelessness can be resolved. The funding that's being distributed, it's being distributed in the best possible ways, but it's the areas that we need it for, which one is housing. It really should be focusing on the housing, the mental health, which is healthcare, and then of course, which is going to be ongoing, because you can't house folks and think that they're going to succeed because they're housed. Wrong.
Right.
They need ongoing support, social services, therapists, primary care doctors to follow up with their care every 3 months or whatever it is to ensure that they're following their protocols. So the systems are failing us in so many ways. Just yesterday, I took my son to this, we just took a drive and I pointed him out to what we call it here, Chinatown, where a lot of our members who are homeless for several reasons, they're hanging out. And my son said, "Wow, Mom, that looks really bad down there." I said, "It is. It's a place that there is support, but we still have members that are sleeping outside. So we need more housing, and that's the issue. But we also need healthcare in between all of their outreach that's involved. As we meet the members, we need that support. Housing for stability, healthcare for overall care. And then the rest will come, food and financial stability. But the main issues that I see in this work is housing and healthcare. Yeah.
Sad. So this is called UBU Live, right? So my brother, who's very interesting, we don't agree on a lot of things. So I need to tell him that I do know my calling. I described it in great detail. People are not using me because I want to help them. That is how I actually get ahead, because I build teams and leaders that allow me to grow within an organization. And that has been a successful recipe for me. And I don't expect anything in return, and nobody has ever used me. I have given things freely because that's my spirit. And that's all I have to say. Any comments, Gabby?
Honestly,
Gabby,
I'm
be
still
checking out.
processing. No, I'm
Gabby falls
processing it.
asleep on
Believe it or not,
her pillow.
no, believe it or not, I'm an ambivert. I'm
Don't
just still
use big
processing.
words with me. What is an ambivert?
Ambivert, it's a mix between extrovert and introvert.
Oh, okay. All right. Nice. See?
Yeah.
Let's
I
just
learn
learn
something new every day.
Ooh, yeah.
I gotta look
My
that
bad.
up.
My bad. I wasn't.
You're trying to be all sophisticated with us, and I'm like, all right, an ambivert.
You're right. Okay, my bad. Sometimes I am quiet. How's that? Is
Okay.
that cool?
That's
right.
cool.
But yeah,
I got you on that one.
Okay. So yeah, I really just think there's a lot of richness there. There's a lot to think about, and I'm curious to see what you two have to say about it first.
About what my brother said and what I just said?
Yes.
See, she was asleep, Martha. I'm telling you, she was asleep.
I just
Well, you know,
don't know.
She doesn't even know what the question is. She's like, oh, I thought it was rich, but let's see what you guys think first. I played that game before, Gabby.
Gabby, that was a good one. I'm going to use that one.
Obviously not good enough.
She thinks she's fooling people.
So funny.
You know, I
that
don't. I just process.
You know, sometimes you know, what I do is voluntarily outside of advocacy. And like that share that I mentioned before about someone making that comment to me about doing the work that I do, and then I find myself in a position where I'm in house. It was, you know, I felt insulted, but then I'm like, why is this bothering me so much? But is this a personal thing, or what is it? You know, I just, you know, you have to find what you're going to enjoy. And if you want to give away your services for free, that's your choice. I'll tell you, I went above and beyond in several cases, meeting people at motels, people that I met online that I didn't even know. And those were the best interactions. I'm not saying do it. Don't go out and do it.
Right.
But I went with the way I felt in my heart it was right to do. And I'm so thankful that I did, because I met some amazing people that really needed, whether it was some food, whether it was just connecting, having a conversation. They needed some supplies, and I showed up. Guess what? You know how rewarding that feels inside? Oh my gosh. It was just such a good feeling. Like, I am receiving as I'm giving, but sometimes as givers, we have a hard time receiving also. It's difficult for me to receive. And I need to be a little bit more vocal about sharing more Connect Impact Hub. Like, we need donations, and I'm not really vocal with that, and I need to be more, because I'm doing something that means a lot to a lot of people, and I could be doing so much if I had the funding. So I'm working through it. It is difficult sometimes to ask for donations, but it's something that I know that I need to be more vocal about. And not,
Have you ever been nervous or scared doing what you're doing?
you know, I've had some cases where there's been violent, like, calls over the phone. In those cases, I know that I need to be very cautious, but I always go with just making sure I look at my surroundings, and I don't feel scared, to be honest with you. I actually feel
Okay.
very comfortable, because I know, I mean, I'm meeting people from all walks of life. I just have to be very cautious as a woman, and alert, consistently on alert, because now they know my car when they see me. So I am very cautious, and I am consistently on alert. But I also know that in my heart and my soul, I have a God that watches over me
I
consistently.
was about to say that.
And I have the biggest protection of all, so I'm okay.
That's amazing. Do you do it at night as well, or is it just during the day?
Yeah, just during the day, but I am looking at doing night, like, drives where I'm passing out care bags, because I do see a lot of members outside that are, sleeping outside, so they can start seeing me out there, not just in the daytime, but also at night. So most of my work is virtually. Some of my members I do meet either at a coffee or the library, or, depending where they're at a park. We do, or in their car. Sometimes I had an interesting case at parking lot. We met in the car to have a conversation. But yeah, it's always a public setting, not secluded. Yeah, for safety.
So how do your members know to reach out to you?
Yeah, so because I'm doing the work with the advocacy, they know about the program here in the community. But outside the advocacy with Connect Impact Hub, it's through word of mouth, or lives like this, or connecting on Nextdoor app.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And how much of your members come through connectimpacthub.org?
Yeah. So right now, I don't have the numbers from last year, but it wasn't significant. It wasn't a significant number. So, like, right now, my caseload with my advocacy is 32 members. With Connect
Okay.
Impact Hub, I have about 3 members as we speak right now that I'm ongoing helping them with resources. 3.
Okay. And so are you getting paid through advocacy and then paid through?
Yes. No.
Okay.
So for
Yes,
Connect,
no.
yes. So for advocacy, I do get paid. It's a corporate job, so there is a paycheck. With
Congratulations.
Connect Impact, thank you. With Connect Impact Hub, no, it's all volunteer work as of now.
And your intent is to turn that into its own nonprofit.
It is a nonprofit, but we want to go full time.
You want to get grants and stuff like that.
Right.
Have you written grants before?
No, I haven't. So I do need help with that. If anybody wants to volunteer and help me with that, do let me know.
I'm going to call my mom later, and I'll give you my phone number. I'll connect you with her. She has her own nonprofit in Springfield, Illinois, and she writes grants all the time. She's a little bit tired today because my aunt is not feeling well. I think she's anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so she might say, no, not right now, but she'll help you. She'll guide you through.
That'd be
And it might be
amazing.
better. It might be better if
Sure.
we just do it like one day when she's at work, so that she's in work mode instead of home mode.
Yes,
yeah,
sounds good.
that's worth having a conversation with her.
Okay. Yeah, let me know. Let me know when you need me. I'll be there.
I'll,
Um,
I'll give you my number right away.
okay.
Go ahead, Gabby.
Yes, please.
So I really love what both of you had to say about advocacy and the sacrifice of servant leadership. What was that for, Bill?
I was waiting for you to say, I think it was great, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say first. That was the best line ever. I'm going to use it every day. Go ahead, Gabby.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep messing with you, so just be ready for it.
That's all
It's all
good.
a
It's
joke.
all good.
Yeah,
Um,
it's love.
well, yeah, Martha, I really appreciate what you said about being a woman and doing some of the work you're doing because, of course, you have to think about those protections and security risks. And also, it made me think of this organization in Houston called Food Not Bombs. I think they're in other places too, but I know in Houston, I met someone that works with them, and they were telling me how they kept getting into, I guess, I don't know. Pretty much, they try to redistribute food to the unhoused population in downtown Houston, but would get in trouble because with the law, and the police would come antagonize them. And so it's been an ongoing thing for a while because they don't want to stop distributing the food, of course, but the law is essentially saying that they're not permitted to give it away for some reason. And so, yeah, it's really interesting to me about policy and about the sacrifice because these people have several videos where they're literally just getting into it with the cops just to be able to provide food. And so I'm wondering how that has to do with your situation in Cali and if the laws are different or stuff like that.
Hmm. That's a good question, Gabby. Yeah, before I left Houston, I did look into that, and it was due to public settings. It's particularly, I'm not sure if it was the library or the city. They were like in front of buildings that they didn't want the people to be there. So they had to be away from public buildings and away from the sidewalks. And, most of the members are in that downtown area, which is difficult. How would you distribute food, right? You need a place. I know that when I was down there, distributed care bags, I was in my car passing them out. Here in California, there is workarounds, is finding a place where you can pass out the food and speaking with the city of Houston. I can't think of the name, the city hall, and letting them know, like, what do I need to do to be able to distribute food? Getting a connection, unfortunately, it's who getting that connection going and finding out, like, can I legally come here, and maybe even asking them to be part of it. So if the police does come, they see who's involved in that movement and will even want to participate themselves. Here locally, I'm actually part of not an organization, it's a community base who provides food from the community. They go on Nextdoor, they ask for donations, and it's just a community person that's bringing volunteers together to feed the unhoused. And they have approval from the city. There's no permit required, just approval from the city to be able to do it at a public setting. And as long as they clean up everything, they're okay. So it's really just having that connection and knowing who to ask to see where you can do it. But it can be done.
What about all those restaurants that throw out food every night because they can't sell it the next day?
Mm-hmm. So some of those restaurants are actually donating to the local organizations. I know in Houston, Chick-fil-A, for example, I had made a phone call about what do they do with their food. And they actually they work with local nonprofits and they give them the food. So then they end up giving them out to the members that either come to their day centers or the members that are outside.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. I've always felt that was such a waste, especially with like baked goods, because they're still edible. It's just they can't sell day old bread. So why throw it away when we have this homeless population?
Mm-hmm. and then here, like Salvation Army gets food, and even the volunteers, they'll go pick up the food and they'll bring it to the events that happen throughout the week. It's really beautiful to witness and to be part of that. I'm like, this is amazing. There's a lot of people that want to help. That's the beauty about all of this.
They just don't know how.
Yeah, they don't know. Some of them don't want to go by themselves, so they want to find a community to be able to help. So, yeah.
And then food banks?
Oh, that's another big one. Yeah. They actually, because I work with the low-income seniors, they actually get the ones at our house, obviously, they're able to get food boxes, lots of food, like vegetables and fruits delivered to their homes. And for the members that live in their cars, unfortunately, I haven't seen any programs that deliver to them directly, wherever they're parked, fresh food, unless it's a local volunteer group that's providing food.
So what is the food like from a food bank?
Well, it's not cooked food. It's raw food.
I mean, I guess, is it day old food? Is it food about to spoil? Is it just really fresh? The same thing that
no,
in the supermarket?
It's fresh. It's fresh.
Okay.
Fresh bananas, pears, cabbage. Yeah, I've seen it. It's
Okay.
all fresh. Yeah. And
Okay.
sometimes they'll
I've
get
just always
pastas.
wondered.
Yeah, pastas is a big one that's given out too. Yeah.
Meat?
I haven't seen any meat. No. I haven't seen any meat. Canned food.
So I know Food
Gabby?
Not Bombs stays away from meat because it can come with a lot more regulation and risk with health. So I know they pretty much only accept vegan or vegetarian options.
What's it called?
Food Not Bombs.
Food Not Bombs. Okay, I get it. Okay, makes sense.
Yes, that's the organization.
Well, surprisingly, this call has gone extremely smooth. I was extremely nervous. Gabby, you've been such a treat.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed messing with you. How can we help you, Gabby? What do you need from us, from the people out there, and what do you want to leave them with?
See, you always ask these really deep questions and then wonder why I'm just sitting here thinking for a minute.
Well, because this is the network, right? So I'm gonna tell everybody, I need a job. That's what I need. Do you need connections? Are you looking for a network in DC? What is it that we can do to help get you to that first step towards your next dream?
Wow, I really actually admire the way you phrase questions and the way you weave words together. I think that's why it has me a little taken aback sometimes. But the step to get me to the next dream is definitely connections and network in DC and any other tech hubs, because I do see this tour possibly going on if it can. So I would love any connection across the US. Thank you.
Okay. I working in startups, I know tons of engineers. I know people that work for Facebook and Google and YouTube and design the metaverse. So yeah, I think we can get you connected. And Martha.
Well, I'm
my
happy
mom
to connect
first.
Yeah, and I'm happy to connect with everybody. Everyone brings their own tools, their gifts in any type of way. So yeah, I'm happy to connect. And Connect Impact Hub. Check us out.
I will make sure that I post that. I might write a little article about it because I'm always looking for content to write about. So, and then get your name out there so that people know more about you. And I am going to do my final
Wait,
little,
well,
go
before
ahead.
you do that, William, I know you said you
Mhm.
need a job, but you didn't really specify what kind of job, and I maybe missed it. If you did, I don't recall. But what kind of job, or maybe I can get you also connected with someone in my network. Um, yeah, if you could share a
So,
little bit.
yeah, so I'm a startup guy. Um, so JDate, Christian Mingle, Silver Single, Zeus, those are all companies that I helped build the backend infrastructure, opening up offices in LA, Beverly Hills, Provo, and Israel. And then I worked for GodTube for about 3 or 4 years. I was in Dallas. That was a startup for it was a video sharing social network. So today you would call that like TikTok, right? Or Instagram. But that was in 2007. So the iPhone came out in 2007. So I've always been a part of emerging growth companies that needed someone to come in to build the roadmap. So I don't usually go in and follow someone else's blueprint. I am the blueprint. And then from there, I own my own e-commerce company, and we were making $26 million a year, and COVID wiped us out because that's a lot of money for me as a private individual, private owner. But I'm also competing against Walmart and Wayfair and all these publicly traded companies that were able to get supplies that I couldn't during COVID. Um, we're about to experience that again now, where supply chain becomes an issue because of all the tariffs. So that is why I'm looking. I took a job for a year as VP of operations for a consumer packaging goods called Celeb Luxury. They are a hair care line, and within that year, I changed their benefits, uh, got them on a PEO to streamline their their payroll processing. The benefits cheapened by about 70,000. Um, I moved their entire warehouse from Florida to Georgia, so that we can save $12,000 a month. So it's when you're a small business, that's a few hundred thousand a year. Um, and I restructured things so that we took the manual processing away and we used APIs in order to do the data pulls back and forth so that we didn't have to worry about manually entering things. Uh, After that year, I, my job was done, and then I've been consulting for the past year, but I've only had one consulting gig and it lasted 4 months. So um, yeah, I basically can run a business. I generally prefer to be in the back instead of the forefront.
Mhm.
So in most of the businesses that I've run, we've had uh, the founders or the CFO being the ones that are out there getting investments. And while they're out there getting investments, I'm stationed to make sure that the entire operation is running optimally. And doing more with less is, the goal. It's not to get rid of people. A lot of people get afraid. He's going to fire me. No, we want to grow the company, but we don't want to hire 30 other yous. We need you. But if we're going to go from 10 million to 50 million, we need to be able to do that while keeping our overall expenses as low as possible. So I don't know if that answered your question.
You have a phenomenal background.
I think I do. I think a lot of times it's that question of where do we fit him?
Mhm.
You know, I've gone into companies before where uh, a founder brought me on, and he had a CEO, and that CEO kept blocking everything I was doing because the founder, it really was his fault, didn't get the okay from the CEO to bring me on. So the CEO, instead of looking to align with me, looked at me as a threat. And so
Yeah.
it's difficult because sometimes you have to shrink yourself. And I don't think that
Right.
I don't think anyone should shrink themselves to make someone feel better. You should be able to be the full you, all of you. And when, as things unfold, they unfold in the right time. It's just been a freaking year. And it's like, I'm tired. I'm tired and I'm bored. I mean, imagine a year and you're just in your house with 2 dogs. You don't want to spend money because you don't know when something's going to come in. So you're just, you're just kind of like, okay, how much can I watch on Netflix? I need my mind to be stimulated.
Wow. Well, thank you, Bill, for sharing that, because you are not meant to fit in everywhere, right? You are meant to fit Bill.
Yes.
So
yes.
you be you, live you. Like, I'm just throwing that in there because you're we just met and I'm already like, oh my gosh, we need to connect.
We are. And one of the things that I hope everyone feels out there is the way that this conversation goes, the way that this podcast is invented, is 3 or 4 people come together not knowing anything and feel like they've met, that they're leaving as friends, like they're leaving as if, I'm going to talk to him again. I've gone on other podcasts where they're selling microphones and they're talking. I'm like, why? I'm not trying to sell you anything, although I'm about to do it right now. But I'm trying to connect. Make sense?
It does.
Right.
Bill.
Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering, how do you feel about fractional work or co-founder type? And I'm not saying necessarily right now. This is just a hypothetical.
So I'm open to there's 2 different sides. So, and I'm telling this to everybody out there: stop hitting me up asking me, do I want to work for free? I get tons of people that are like, hey, I have a job for you. You can open up your own insurance agency, and in 3 years you'll be a millionaire. I don't have 3 years, so I need a paycheck. But I definitely would be into a co-foundership if I had a regular stream coming in. In fact, I would love that. So what were you thinking, Gabby?
Nothing in particular at the moment. I am around a lot of founders and a lot of people looking for co-founders and people with your expertise, especially the operational sides of it. And so startup thinking, just wondering how that can work.
I will send you my resume. I'm sending it to everybody. And you can pass it around to whoever you see. You can pass it around to people on the streets. You can staple it on the trees. You can put it on a telephone pole. So,
okay, will do.
There you go. So are we good? Any last statements? Okay, I'm about to do my shameless plug for my daughters, okay? One more time. All right. So for those of you out there, my daughters own their own lounge. It's called the Honeypot Lounge. It's owned and operated by my twin daughters, Amanda and Brooke. They believe every person, no matter age, shape, shade, or background, should be comfortable and beautiful before and after receiving a beauty service. They understand that self-care and self-love are the foundation of a healthy and happy lifestyle, and they strive to be a contributing factor in that mission. The Honey Pot Lounge began as a personal desire to create an inclusive space for women. They wanted to design an environment where everyone could be totally themselves, you be you, and completely comfortable indulging in a little or a lot of self-care. The Honey Pot Lounge is located at 4927 West Adams Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, 90016. And if you do decide to visit, tell them Bill sent you. Martha and Gabby, thank you so much. This was much better than I even thought it would be. And I appreciate more than you know the fact that you guys showed up today for me.
Thank you,
That's
Bill.
all, folks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
you.
Thank you,
Nice
Gabby.
meeting you.
You
And
too. Nice
meeting you too, Gabby.
so much.
Bye, guys.